Well, hey friends, today we are going to be drawing Fink the Fox from The Wild Robot.
Hey party people, welcome to Party Create.
Well, hey friends, I'm Tom from Party Create, where we love to help kids like you grow in your art and creativity. Today we're continuing a series drawing the characters from The Wild Robot, and today we're going to be drawing Fink the Fox. So grab a piece of paper, grab some pencils, and let's get drawing. All right, let's get started drawing Fink. To start for the head, we're going to start with just a circle shape. Lock that wrist and get a really sketchy circle in there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to connect this down into the body. And so what we're going to have him doing is sitting, looking this direction. We're just going to give it a little bit of a line of action, right? This is just a line to help us know where to put everything, give him some movement. And what we're going to do is we're going to connect the top of his torso to the bottom of his head right here. And his torso is just going to be a bean shape, right? So it's going to be about this big. It's going to curl back, and then it's going to come up like this. So it's going to have a little bit of a curl. And see how it kind of matches that line of action? It kind of wraps around it. So for the back leg, we're going to just add in a really narrow oval. This is going to be the shape of his hind leg going down to his feet. And so we're going to kind of try to get the top of that to meet the back. See how it kind of just slopes down into here? And then the next one, it's going to be hidden by the body, so we're not going to really add too much detail, but it's going to be right there popping out. And then what we can do is we can add in the foot right here, and then another foot right here. All right, so now we're going to draw in these circles. So right here, we've got his left shoulder, and then we've got his right shoulder here, maybe slightly lower than this one. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to draw in some lines. This is just going to help us figure out where we want those legs to be, right? We're going to add in some feet, really small circles, little ovally kind of shapes right here. And then from this point, we can kind of figure out, is this the right proportions of a fox, right? So I want this to kind of come back a little bit further over here. So I'm going to bring the angle of his hind leg a little bit back. And then I'm going to have the foot move over just slightly. And this is why it's so important to have a really sketchy first couple steps of your sketch. Your sketch is about 90% those first few moments, and then you build the detail after that. Let's start fleshing out his front legs. We've got a shoulder kind of curls down here. So what we've got is a narrowing of his legs that meets right here. So it gets wide here, comes down, gets shorter or thinner down here at the bottom. The same thing for this one, but what we're going to do is we're going to hide it behind his stomach. So it's going to come down here, and then it's going to meet right there. Now I want this shape to be a little bit higher. I want more of his leg to come out here, and so I'm going to bring this down, and I'm actually going to curl this the opposite direction so that it meets at the bottom where his bottom is. All right, once we've established that, we can erase it because it's hidden behind his front leg. So what we're going to do with his face is we're going to give him a facial expression that looks like he kind of knows something that we don't. And so what we're going to do is we're going to give him an eye line that is angled up. What this means is we're going to give him just a line across the middle of his face that shows us where the level of his eyes are going to be. And then what we're going to do is we're going to draw a line down the center of his face as well. So this line right here is where the nose is going to be. And so what we're going to do is we're going to exaggerate that nose a little bit to the left right here. So it's going to come out a little bit further out to the left. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add in the eyes. So I'm just going to just really light circles here. This is not going to be the final shape of the eyes, but it's just going to help us block it in. Right now it kind of looks like a pig, but that's fine. And then underneath this nose, we're going to add in the mouth. So this is going to come down, and then we're going to give him a little smile. And then over here, this line's going to come out, and then we're going to give him a smile right there. The nose right here is going to be just to the middle of that line that we created earlier. We can color that in. Canines have a little line that separates the right to the left of their mouth. So now that we've got this, we can start working on some of the other shapes. So I'm going to lift this just slightly up here. And again, we're working really light so we can make these changes now. And then I'm going to kind of flare it out to the left and flare it out to the right, and then give him some furry little points to his face, right? Most foxes have these kind of points on the side, so we're going to add those in. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add in the ears. So the ears are going to be up here, that, and then like that. They're curling out and then in at the top. And then we're just going to follow the same angle, just bring it out slightly to the outside. And so then once we've got this established, right, now we can work on that facial expression. So we've got his mouth right here. We can draw in the bottom of his lip right underneath there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on the shape of his eyes. Now let me just work over here and show you what this is going to look like a little bit bigger. This is his left eye. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this into a triangle around this circle, and then I'm going to round the edges. So we've got rounded edges for each side. And then we just add in the inside. So I'm going to take this shape and I'm going to bring it over here. So I have a line that curves down on the inside, and then it comes out, and then it meets at the top. And then we've got the same on the other side. But what I want to do is I want to give him one eye that's more open and one eye that's shut. So we're going to follow the same line on the bottom, same line on the inside, but we're not going to raise it as high as this eye. So we're going to have this kind of come down here. What we're going to do is we're going to try to mirror the same location of the inside of his eye. So his iris, his pupil, all that, we're going to try to mirror this. So we've got one here, and then we've got one here. And so what we're going to do is we're going to give him an eyebrow that's up on this side, and then one that's curling down and further down on his face on this side. And so that's going to give him that kind of look like he knows a little bit more than we do. Alright, so now I'm going to go down into the rest of his body and start adding in some of the detail of how these different shapes overlap each other. We've got his front shoulder that comes down. We're going to make this more pronounced right here. And then down here, we're just going to follow this curve all the way down into his feet. Now, his tail is going to come up like this. And I'm actually going to erase that eye. But the tail is going to come up here. It's really, really big. Got kind of a circular shape at the end. And we're just going to bring it down into his rear end. So it's a big tail, and it's going to come up all the way out here. Now I don't like these ears. I'm going to have them a little bit more straight. They're a little too curled out. I'm going to straighten them up a little bit. Add in some of those jagged lines, give him some fur texture. Now for his legs, we're just going to tighten that line up. I'm going to add in a little joint here, just a little notch for his, I guess it would be his elbow. And then it's going to come down here into the front paw. So we've got one paw, two paw, three paw. Same thing with here, 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to do the same thing with this elbow about halfway up. I'm going to add in some more fur. And then the fur is going to curl around the front of his shoulder like this. So for the hind legs, we've got that shape kind of established. We're going to give it a little more furriness. And then I'm just going to come in here and I'm going to add in the back feet. And then over here we've got the other foot. Now I want to raise up his back legs just slightly. And again, we do sketchy at first so that we can make these changes. I'm going to bring these back up just a little bit. I want his front legs and back legs to be kind of even. We actually want the back legs to be a little bit behind it, a little raised up behind. They're further behind, so they're going to be a little bit raised. Alright, let's get started on the inking. So what I'm going to use is one of my brush pens. It's a Pigma brush, and what it does is it has a little bit of a give, so I can do things like this where it's really, really thin, and then I push it down slightly and it gets thicker. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick our best lines. We're going to go over what we've already drawn, and we're just going to kind of keep what we want and get rid of what we don't. So let's get started. I'm going to speed up this process just a little bit so that we can get to the coloring. Notice how for the fur texture, I'm not completely enclosing the character. We're leaving space for white space in between each of those lines, and that really helps us give us that furry texture. You see, if we were to close it all in together, it wouldn't have that looseness to it that makes it look like fur. So for the lines in between the orange and the white fur, I'm going to leave that for the color pencils to draw, just so that we have a little bit lighter transition between those spots. Alright, now we can start erasing some of these sketchy lines that we did with pencil and begin the coloring process. Alright, so we're going to start with a really light orange. Going over lightly will give us the ability to darken in spots that we want to later. So we want to make sure that we give ourselves some room to go darker. So don't go completely dark on that first pass. One of the coolest things you can do with colored pencil in this process is follow the lines of the fur as you are coloring. So for instance, on the front of his shoulder, I know that this fur is going to move downward and out, right? I'm going to follow the angle of this. So I'm going to do that with my colored pencil. Now I don't have to go super dark on these lines, but all I'm doing is I'm following the direction of where his fur would go. And it gives us a little bit more of a rounded 3D look on the fur. We're gonna have a little bit sticking out over here on the front part of his chest. And then it's just gonna kind of come down here in the back. So if we follow the motion of his fur, it's gonna reinforce the shapes that we want. All right, so now that we've established our first pass, we're gonna take that same orange that we have and just go a little bit darker on the spots that we want to go darker on. So underneath his eyebrows, we've kind of got a little bit of a darker, we can kind of add in a little bit more. So for his white fur, what can we use to add in some shadow? One of my favorite colors to use on a white surface for shadow is just a little bit of a baby blue mixed with a more grayish tone. So I'm gonna use this color called Terra Verde. Comes in our colored pencil pack, but this color is going to give us a little bit of a blue, but a little bit of a muted grayish, and it's just maybe a little bit of green there. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to really lightly on the spots that I know are going to be covered in shadow, I'm just going to start going over them. And then we can add in like a little baby blue here, just mix it in if we want to, give it a little bit more color. If you want, you can use a white paint pen. We're just gonna add a little bit of a, see that, just that dot makes his eyes look so cool. Now, if we wanna add some more shadow to the orange, what we can do is we can shift over to a more reddish orange. Red gets it a little bit darker. See over here how I'm getting it a lot darker over here on this. It's a really good way to add some shadow without just going for a black or something like that. Then what we can do is for his mouth, we can add in his tongue. So just a little bit of a red here, angled down. I'm gonna mix in some purple just to bring that down a little bit more. And so for his legs, they are kind of a really dark brown black color. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start with a base and we're just gonna keep working it until we get it dark enough. All right, if you wanna add in some shadow underneath Fink, you can add in some shadow down here, just really lightly. And we are done. There you have it, Fink from the Wild Robot. Well, hey, I had a ton of fun drawing Fink the Fox with you today. Make sure you hit like and subscribe to continue catching videos from Party Create. Until next time, we will see you guys later.